Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger, one of those rare on-camera videos. Today we're talking about Marvel Tokon. You probably heard about it by now. So obviously set the FGC and just kind of general gaming ablaze when it got announced. Our new 4 versus 4 Marvel fighting game. And ever since it got announced, obviously we had the trailer, it's probably playing right now. And a lot of people are wondering, who's going to be in the game. We got some pretty, good picks. We got our Spider-Mans, we got our Captain Americas, we got some Marvel classics, if you will, in the fighting game terms, like Storm and Doctor Doom. But the big question is, who exactly is making it? And as a byproduct as well, who exactly is not making it in? And that's sort of what I want to talk about in this video. To be sure, we're going to get a lot of characters, although maybe not as many as you think. We'll talk about it. And it's going to be a pretty good smorgasbord just going around the line. But it is a Disney game, right? And part of the thing is this the Disney of old? If you remember Marvel Infinite roster problems, that was one of the bigger problems of the game, because there was definitely an enforcement of push the movie characters. So you had people like Ultron in the game, not that Ultron's a bad character, and you had people like Captain Marvel, because Captain Marvel is becoming more of a thing in the movies, right? And then, of course, you lost people like Storm. You lost anyone who was a mutant, because the mutants were not on the menu, as it were. And of course, things are different now. That's definitely okay. Like, look at the success of Marvel Rivals, and that game is brimming with mutants. So mutants is not a problem, not the least of which is Storm is literally in the game. So we know mutants are fine. And just before we go into it, just in case you don't know, so the game is a 4v4 tag game. So not just 3v3, 4v4, we're going the extra mile here. We got to one-up Marvel vs. Capcom, right? So we have that, and it's an assist-based game. Arc System Works has not gone into great detail, but it makes it look like either you can do what you would think, 4 characters, and you can tag into whatever at the time. And yes, it is an active tag game. Or, as in their own words, you can basically just pick one character and have 3 assists. I don't know if that's like a manual choice, like you choose not to tag, or if that's an actual gameplay choice with like some distinct mechanics behind it, where you pick full team or one character with 3 assists. I don't know, but that's how it's currently explained. And of course, there's a bunch of speculation as well, like some people glow gold, so there might be EX moves in the game, which is not normal for versus games. Not to say it can never happen, but not normal, especially for Marvel versus Capcom. And some people are speculating that it might be just one health bar, as in all 4 characters share the same health bar, and thus, one character dies, they all die, right? And it leads to escaping some of the classic team game problems of, if you're down to your last character, you're kind of screwed if someone has a full team. And also, it's a cascading failure kind of thing, because when you lose characters, you're also losing assists. So things just get worse and worse, right? If it is truly one shared health bar, then you have all of your strength, all of your power till it's done. So there's that, at least. Don't know if that's the case, though. That's just what people are speculating at the moment. So now we're going to do the roster talk. Before we do anything, though, about who will or maybe won't be in the game, we do have this quote here directly from Sony PlayStation blog. ARC producer Takeshi Yamanaka states, "There are so many amazing Marvel characters that it was quite a struggle to choose our roster. But we did have some criteria for the selection process. First and foremost, we want to include characters who we feel to be the face of Marvel." So, that's why you have your Spider-Mans and your Captain Americas, right? And at the same time, we also need to select characters that will give us a balance of battle types and styles. You need your archetypes, you need your gameplays and game plans. Lastly, we want to sprinkle a few surprises and leave room for characters who have never been playable in a fighting game before. Meaning, you're going to get some not as obvious choices. And here's the thing, this is where I want to start off with, because even though we do have some obvious choices, like your Spider-Mans and your Captain Americas, when you think Marvel versus, your mind travels to a few characters out of the gate, right? Obviously, we can't exactly do Dante and Virgil. That one's not going to happen, right? But, okay, we have Storm. Okay, who else is kind of famous besides Storm in a fighting game? How about Magneto? How about Sentinel, right? And characters like that, even though Magneto will be in the upcoming Doomsday movie, right? But characters like that, when you think about them in the context of a fighting game, the thing is you're thinking about the Capcom version of the character, and that won't exist in an Arc System Works game. So what am I talking about exactly, right? Well, look at Dr. Doom. So Dr. Doom is in the game, and to a degree, he evokes a little bit of Marvel vs. Capcom Doom. He has his like a energy laser pillar move, and that's a little evocative of hidden missiles, because, you know, it's tracking you and it'll come down on your head, right? But it's not hidden missiles, because they can't do hidden missiles, because that's you know, Capcom thing. I'm not pretty sure, well, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure you're not going to be seeing combos going foot dive, right? Because that's a Capcom invention. So when I talk about Magneto and Sentinel specifically, who are two infamous characters in Marvel vs. Capcom, you are thinking about the Capcom version, and they can't just do that. Like, Magneto already, you're thinking like, you know, jump heavy loops and all that kind of stuff? Probably not. Ha 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 ha, you are defeated. Probably not. And someone like Sentinel, going as far back as like Children of the Atom, Capcom might as well invented Sentinel. Like, Sentinel always existed as a robot in the comics and the cartoons that got, you know, destroyed en masse by the heroes. But when you think video game Sentinel, that's a purely Capcom creation. And everything you associate with him comes straight from Capcom, and thus, you can't exactly do. It's not to say you can't evoke it, because, you know, sure enough, almost every fighting game has their Shoto equivalent, their, like, equivalent of Ryu some way, some form, somehow. But of course, it's not exactly Ryu, right? So, if you have, say, like Storm. Storm is, you know, a famous Marvel vs. Capcom character, but this Storm is not going to be Marvel Storm. She's going to be her own thing. She'll have, you know, moves that might look a little similar, and maybe even a little bit of an homage or two. We'll see, I don't know. But she's gonna be definitively her own thing. Arc System Works does their own thing. They're not just here to copy what you remember from the Capcom games. So that's what I mean with the roster, is just because you think of them as a character in Marvel versus, it doesn't mean it's gonna happen just because this is Arc System Works. This is not Capcom. They're doing their own thing. Now, let's get into actual roster talk. So I just kind of set that qualification, right? So I've seen some very far-flung, to me, unrealistic expectations as to how many characters are going to be in the game. Because I've seen people post like 30 to 40, and my brother, I do not think that's happening. This is the modern day. Asset creation is a lot more you know, expensive and takes a lot more time than it used to back in the day when we would just kind of asset flip a lot of characters for, you know, the crossover game, right? So I think there'll be a decent sized roster, but like 30 to 40, I don't think so. Now, what do I think is realistic? I don't know the number for sure, right? But I'm thinking something like Dragon Ball FighterZ, probably about 21 characters. And admittedly, even for Dragon Ball FighterZ, two of those characters, Super Saiyan Goku Blue, Super Saiyan Vegeta Blue, right? They were asset flips. They were just recolors as well, right? But let's say 21, because, you know, it's not like Dragon Ball was a small license. It's not like it was a small indie game. That was a realistic launch roster. And of course, room to grow for DLC. Because there's going to be a lot of DLC in this game. You better believe it. They're here to sell you stuff. That's how this works. But yeah, so when it comes to like grand rosters, I could see maybe 25 at the upper end, but anything past that, I really don't expect that. Yes, it's a 4 versus 4 game. When Dragon Ball FighterZ came out, they complained about 21. It's 3 versus 3 game. How do you launch with 21? Doesn't matter. They launched with it. People still bought it. It won't really affect it too much unless they launch with something comically small. But I'm expecting 21 to 25 personally. Your mileage may vary. Let me know if you think I'm crazy or not, but I really don't expect a larger roster because, once again, it costs a lot more money to make characters these days than back in the day. Now, let's break into a few sections here. Who's probably going to be in the game? Who is the game hinting at? Because there's definitely a few hints. Who is going to be DLC? Because there's going to be a lot of DLC. Open them wallets. And who are some of these weird picks they're going to go for? Because they're, once again, stating there's going to be characters that have never, ever been in a Marvel fighting game before. And granted, that's a lot of characters, but also a lot of characters, frankly, don't deserve to be in a fighting game. Although some do. So let's talk about just the most obvious picks. Like, yo, Thor is going to be in the game. How is he not going to be in the game? He's Thor. He's one of the main Avengers. There's literally a statue of him in the game. And when you have people like Captain America in the game and you have Iron Man in the game, you probably got Thor. And if you probably got Thor, you probably got Hulk, because Hulk's part of the original Avengers storyline where they all kind of got together. And plus Hulk is Hulk. Like, Hulk is Hulk. That sells itself. You're gonna need your big bruiser characters, and Hulk is effectively like the archetype to begin, not just like in the game. I'm just talking like in general. When you think big bruiser, Hulk is that archetype, period, right? So you're gonna need that character anyway, so you might as well put Hulk in the game. So when it comes to just obvious picks, Thor and Hulk out of the gate. Now also when it comes to just more obvious picks, when you're talking about obvious picks, they're talking about they want characters that are like the face of Marvel, right? And in recent years, Black Panther has definitely been one of the faces of Marvel. And plus, just like his appearance in Marvel Infinite, although obviously it won't be the same as that, but you can make him the very quick mix-up dude, right? Especially because I don't know if Wolverine's a given. You'd think so. You'd hope so. But once again, how do you do Wolverine that's not just MVC Wolverine, right? Once again, I don't think they're too invested in just remaking characters that are already in Marvel vs. Capcom. And Wolverine is also a character they can sell you later for DLC for one. But Wolverine, Black Panther gameplay-wise can serve a lot of the same functions, right? And boy, howdy, do we love our functions in Marvel Versus, because Marvel Infinite's the game that brought functions to bear as a concept, right? Or as a meme anyways. To me, Wolverine is the automatic easy pick that I don't know is as automatic or easy. Not saying he's not in the game, but if they want to do their own thing, I don't know if you do Wolverine specifically, especially because if you do Black Panther, you can do a lot of the up close, you know, clawing people to death things, and a few more interesting tricks at that. Of course, that said, I would not be surprised in the least if he's there, but he's not, to me, the auto include that Thor and Hulk is. Or other characters I feel are not necessarily obvious, but like have a very good chance, just like Venom. Venom is a character you can just make your own. Like obviously there's a very inspired Marvel vs. Capcom Venom, who helped actually shape modern Venom as it is. But Venom, you can almost do anything with the character, so he's very easy to redefine in any way you want. Now also, since we mentioned Thor, right, and how Thor is in the game already, he's in the statue, right? There's lots of characters that are referenced in the stages themselves, and sometimes references are just that. They're just references. They don't mean anything other than, hey, here's a cute little reference. But sometimes they're more than just a little bit of a hint, right? And when you look at one, say like Daredevil. So Daredevil, Fogwell's gym is in the early concept and early stages that we've already seen, right? And that's an important location in the Daredevil universe, if you will. And Daredevil himself is becoming a more and more important character over the years. Always was an important character, but you know, he got the show, then the show came back. And like, so there could be a bit of a push. And once again, Disney's definitely going to want to push some characters on people. And Daredevil, with the fact that he's in there, well, it kind of reads maybe. Now, some of the ones where like a reference might be a reference, like we pointed out earlier, there's a lot of things. Like they have the Baxter building, they have the Avengers Tower, they got like Roxxon, they got Oscorp, they got stuff like even a sign for Dazzler, right? And is Dazzler specifically fighting game material? That would be a character that's never been picked in a fighting game before, for sure, right? But we also have another singer that's been referenced, and that's Luna Snow. And Luna Snow, up until recent times, was, I'll call it for what it is, she was a nobody character. She was a Z-lister. Then Marvel Rivals came along, and now everybody knows who Luna Snow is, right? So Luna Snow, the fact that she's referenced a little bit in there, and Marvel Rivals catapulted her popularity from Z-lister to like a somebody, I don't know if it's a for sure deal, but it's one of those things where I think maybe the stage might be hinting at something. And now here's a big one. Here's a big one. So stages and hints, right? So there's an Oscorp, sure, whatever. Like they're doing New York and it's going to be there. But there's also little signs very carefully hidden in some of the areas there that say Norman for president, like, you know, President Osborn, right? And I don't feel you're doing that unless that's a plot point in the game. And if that's a plot point in the game, that means Norman, the Green Goblin, is probably a playable character. The Oscorp building by itself doesn't necessarily guarantee nothing, but seeing little signage like that maybe is pointing at it. And also, when you talk about gameplay, right? Think of what the Green Goblin could be in a versus game. Because that's, you know, if we're not going to do Sentinel, right? We need someone to take over the skies. And if we're not doing Sentinel, Green Goblin is your guy to take to the skies. Because you just do the glider, you're throwing pumpkin bombs left, right, front, and center. Like, that moveset writes itself. That's one of the easiest layups I've ever seen in a fighting game character. He's cool, he's popular, people like him, and he'll give you gameplay like nobody else. And so, keep that in mind. They're looking for specifically characters to fill gameplay niches, right? And if they're specifically looking for specific types of gameplay, and then you got a character that's already popular, and then you are hinting at him besides just the background building, it smells to me like the Green Goblin could be a playable character. And if he is, he'd be a hell of a character in my books. Okay, and now just to bring it up, we talked about the buildings, the Baxter buildings in the background of the game. Fantastic Four, if you don't have Fantastic Four in your 4v4 game, what are you even doing? Like, seriously? How can you not have the Fantastic Four in a 4v4 game? The only thing that makes me a little, you know, scratch my head a little bit on the matter is we do have Miss Marvel, and Miss Marvel is our stretchy power character, and obviously Reed is our, you know, Mr. Fantastic, our stretchy power character. So it might not literally be all four as four separate playable characters, but if they did, like, say, a Captain Ginyu kind of deal, where you have one of the four as the playable character, preferably the Thing, because I want more big characters, you know, have Hulk, have the Thing, right? But if you have one of them as the face character, and like Captain Ginyu in Dragon Ball FighterZ, he summons the other three as, you know, moves for the character, I think that'd be incredibly interesting. And Arc System Works, you know, they made Dragon Ball FighterZ, they can make that character. They've already made that character. So if they could do something with one character that does a bunch of summons, and once again, it could be Reed, it could be Sue, it won't be Johnny, or it could be Ben, right? But one of them summons the rest of them as various moves for the moveset while having his own core moveset or her core moveset. I think that'd be a really, really interesting way to go about it. So that way you can have all of them represented, but they don't necessarily take up 4 dedicated character slots to themselves. That said, I would love if they had 4 dedicated character slots to themselves. Fantastic Four is my favorite Marvel property, straight up. And it's also why I'm worried for the new movie, because I'm scared they're going to ruin Doctor Doom, because I think he's Marvel's best villain by a mile, but we'll see when we get there, I guess. Here's hoping. Also, real quick, if you want to do more Fantastic Four stuff in your life, read the Jonathan Hickman run of Fantastic Four. It's some of the best comics ever written. But anyways, some other little story potential hints in the background is there's a little thing showing the Kree Skrull War Museum. And Kree Skrull Wars was a whole thing. And maybe you can have some of the lesser, or, you know, well, not lesser, but less popular Avengers characters that were part of it. So like Scarlet Witch, Goliath, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Hank Pym, right? So that doesn't necessarily point to any one character in itself, but the fact that they're pointing at it once again, maybe it's a story beat, so that could be a thing. Now, speaking of story beats and background stuff, I did not find this one myself. All credit to Master of Combat over on Reddit for this one, because this is an eagle eye get. And this is something you don't reference unless you're doing something with it. So have a gander at this. This is graffiti and just iconography pointing towards the champion. Now, who's the champion? I barely knew who the champion was. To me, the champion was one of the characters in the fantastic early 2000s She-Hulk run. And yes, She-Hulk used to be a great comic. Maybe the property's not so great these days, but it used to be actually one of Marvel's best things. And, you know, a cosmic level character all about the fighting. And, you know, all about the fighting, sounds like a fighting game character, right? So the champion is the champion of the universe. And he goes around the universe hosting fighting tournaments and looking for fights. Also heavily associated with the Infinity Stones. Usually has a few of them at any given time. Most associated with the Power Stone. When he fought She-Hulk specifically, he had the Power Stone. And yeah, so the champion is a character that would come to Earth to have a fighting game tournament. And just kind of go from there. He's really big on might makes right, trial by combat, and fighting in boxing rings, right? So like All this stuff reads fighting game aligned at the very least, right? And once again, this is too deep of a cut to just put in the background. Like, if you get an old grognardy comic nerd like me, and I barely remember the dude, and like I only remember from She-Hulk of all things, like that's a deep cut, right? So you don't do that unless you're doing something with it, is my take. Especially because, you know, they're showing, you know, some of his iconography and everything, right? It's not a guarantee for sure, but boy, it would be weird if they went as far as to put that stuff in the game in the background and not do something with it. Now, next, let's look at characters that you think are strong picks to be in the game, but they don't necessarily they're not necessarily going to be there day one, right? Because they need to sell you DLC. There's going to be a lot of DLC, you know, like Arc System works, lots of seasons of Guilty Gear Strive, lots and lots of characters for Dragon Ball Fighters. They do the DLC thing, and you need characters that are tantalizing for DLC. So who could some of these be? Like I just mentioned She-Hulk, right? She-Hulk is one of the characters that fought the champion of the universe. And She-Hulk, I think, is a prime example of a good DLC character. She has a strong level of interest behind her. You can make her an interesting fighting game character, not like Marvel vs. Capcom when they nerfed her in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, which really sucked and it really made me mad. But so yeah, you can do your own take on her, right? She doesn't just have to be Fast Hulk, although Fast Hulk, even that by itself, is a perfectly valid like gameplay route to go, honestly. But you can definitely make her a lot of different things. Now, that said, we're probably going to have a lot of spider people, right? And we already have Spider-Man, but you know who we're missing? We're missing Spider-Man. And I'm talking Miles Morales. Miles is very popular. He's at the forefront of some movies. He's kind of a big deal, right? And he is certainly different enough within the context of his powers to not just be a Spider-Man clone. I was going to say Spider-Man clone. Please put a Ben Reilly skin in the game, please. I'll pay you like $20, okay? But I love Scarlet Spider. He's my favorite. Anyways, besides Spider-Man clones, what I'm seeing is he's not necessarily just going to be exactly Peter's moveset, right? Miles is definitively his own thing. To the point where, once again, if we're talking about selling DLC, right? He's popular, very popular, and he can be a completely different character while still evoking Spider-Man stuff, and he just seems like a very strong fit for the game. To the point where, like, I feel like Miles is inevitable. Like, he could even be launch roster, to be honest with you, right? But I feel like Miles is going to happen no matter what. It's just a matter of when. And another character kind of happening no matter what, just a matter of when, has to be Deadpool, right? Deadpool is turbo popular, and when it comes to DLC, he'll sell copies of DLC. Once again, that's the idea. That's why you have to buy Akuma now every time in Street Fighter 6, because they know you'll buy them, and you will buy Deadpool. You don't need to put him in the launch roster, because you can help sell a season of DLC. That's kind of how that works. And Deadpool, as a fighting game character, like, stuff writes itself. Don't even need to go into it, right? That's very, very easy. So it's just a matter of, when does he show up? He's showing up. When is he showing up? He could be base roster, but if he's not base roster, he's coming as DLC. It's just a matter of when. Maybe not season 1, but it's going to happen eventually. Now, they did mention they're going to be picking people that have never been in a fighting game before, right? And this is hard to tell because they could really get weird with it, right? Maybe they want to do like Marvel Rivals and create the next Luna Snow, in that they'll take a character that people barely know and thrust them into the limelight, and then all of a sudden they're mega popular, right? So just to end off here, some oddball characters, I have no idea. These are characters I personally would like to see. So for one, I would like to see Fat Cobra. Who's Fat Cobra? Well, I'm the sumo guy of the FGC. I gotta rep the sumo thing. So he's an Iron Fist aligned character, and he's actually very, very powerful. Powerful enough to sass the Sentry. Powerful enough to have fought Hitler. He fought against Hitler. He fought in World War II, right? He fought against SS ninjas. He's just kind of always been around, and he's just a strong guy. And I don't actually expect him to be there. So, you know, I'll give a more realistic but interesting big guy rep. Especially if we're going to have Spider-Man, and potentially if we're going to have Daredevil. You You know who's a good villain for both? I would love to see Kingpin. So what would Kingpin do? Obviously, compared to like, you know, some of these like, you know, Planet Crusher characters, Kingpin, he's just a fat guy, right? So he's not on that level, but he doesn't have to be. He can be effectively a summoner. And I'm not necessarily even talking like Captain Ginyu, like we mentioned earlier, right? I'm talking more like Gargos from Killer Instinct. Like, he can literally just summon mooks, summon thugs, right? Fill the screen with like trash, filler enemies for, you know, you, the hero, to go through. Like a thug with a bat, a thug with a knife, a thug with a pistol, because he is the kingpin of all crime, right? He can just summon these guys on demand. So a character that can just kind of fill the screen with garbage, that's a proud, tried and true versus tradition anyways. But a character that can just summon other people and fill the screen up, I think that would be interesting. And I think thematically, Kingpin would be a great way to do it, while also being a very identifiable character. Everyone knows who Kingpin is, right? He's not one of the main guys, sure, but like everyone knows Kingpin. And I think in the Arc System Works style, you can make him look really cool, really fun and interesting, and just kind of be a joy. Like, I don't expect this to happen. It's just something, actually, since the game got announced, this is something I've been thinking about. Because that could be your dark horse character and just be really coolly and well done. And, you know, well, big fat guy, how's he going to move around? He's not Hulk or anything, right? I still remember from the original, well, not the original, but the 90s Spider-Man animated cartoon, when he was fighting Spider-Man, he talked about having the agility of a panther. So he's a big dude, but he can move. So I think Kingpin would be really cool. Now, speaking of really cool, okay, once again, I've read a lot of comics in the 90s. I had that edgelord in me. I know we're going to have a lot of spider people, so go one further. Do Carnage. Venom is not Carnage. You can do Venom in a completely different way and Carnage in a completely different way, and they would be nothing alike, even though they're both symbiotes. Carnage can, like, transform in anything, so can Venom, but Carnage more so. Cletus was better at transforming than Eddie was, right? So all sorts of bladed weapons, chopping instruments, whatever. You could turn him into a regular Shenko from Darkstalkers, is what I'm saying, right? You can make him go. He would look like $1,000,000. He'd be cool. It ain't the 90s anymore. We don't like our edgelords as much, but I think he would be awesome. And speaking of the 90s, Blade. Please put Blade in the game. I would love to have Blade in the game. He'd be simple. Like, he'll be sword and gun. He can be your Dante. He can be your Dante. You want to have a Dante, but you can't because it's Capcom, right? But if you want Dante with the serial number filed off, that's Blade. He can do a lot of the same things, right? Because he's got your guns, he's got the swords, and he's a cool dude. Blade is an easy sell. Please put Blade in the game. More interesting characters that have not been in a fighting game. How about Nightcrawler? We need more mutant representation right now that mutants are allowed. Nightcrawler is another character that is an easy fighting game sell, right? Super agile, sometimes with swords, sometimes without swords, and all sorts of teleport shenanigans. And in a versus game, this is where you amp the move sets up to 11, right? And, you know, things that aren't normally allowed in fighting games, you can go crazy. So add Nightcrawler, go crazy on the teleports. I think that would be really, really fun. Speaking of stuff that could be really, really fun for a character that's a mutant and never been in a fighting game before, how about Mystique? Like, we've never had a versus game Shang Tsung in such a way, right? Mystique, if she could just turn into anybody, that'd be super interesting. Like, very high skill cap character. And obviously, Mystique is another character that's more than just transforming other people, right? She's actually like a low-level Reed Richards as well. She can transform her shape, her form as well, not just to different people. And she can have a wide variety of different movesets. I just think Marvel Shang Tsung. I like Shang Tsung fighting games. I want more Shang Tsungs. And I think that would be a really cool and lore thematic way to do it. And just to close off the X-Men note, they've been in other games, but people like Juggernaut, people like Rogue, people like Gambit, you can definitely remake those in a way that's wildly different than their Marvel vs. Capcom incarnations. So I hope some combination of them come back. Maybe base roster, maybe DLC, I don't know. But I would like all three for those to come back as well. And just to close off, I doubt it, and I know it can't happen, but I would love Conan the Barbarian to be in the game. I'm a big Conan fan, and you can't allow a guest character returning gap, can you? Invincible has Omni-Man, So that means Invincible's now been in 2 fighting games. So are you going to get showed up in with a character that you can technically do? Because sometimes Conan is licensed by Marvel, right? So are you going to get shown up by the Invincible fighting game with Omni-Man showing up twice? You know, they're in Mortal Kombat. So you have Mortal Kombat and Marvel Tokon for Conan. You could do it. And the Savage Avengers run is pretty cool. Has some really cool scenes with Dr. Doom and Conan. Go read it. I don't know. Probably not going to happen, but it'd be neat. It'd be neat. But anyways, that's some of my thoughts just on the roster as a whole. I know you're chomping at the bit. Please go crazy. Post in the comments below, what characters would you like to see, either base roster, DLC? Also, what do you think the base roster is going to be? Do you think I'm off base with like 20-ish characters, or do you think they're going to go for the moon, do 30 plus? We'll find out, I guess. But we're going to learn more eventually. My guess is probably Evo. They did the big announce. Now you got to let it stew. You got to let it simmer. And Evo, especially because it's a Sony-owned property, both this game is being made by Sony. That's why it's PlayStation exclusive, on console anyways, and Sony owns Evo. There's some co-marketing synergy there. Also, another reason why I think Miles will be DLC, because, you know, Sony's kind of big on the Spider-Man stuff, right? But yeah, so Evo, I think, is our next stop. I don't know if there's going to be playable builds or anything, but I expect maybe more trailers at the very least. And I think this is going to be a very interesting game. Arc system works. Obviously, they know what they're doing. Dragon Ball FighterZ was kind of a thing for a good long while. And when it unfortunately kind of careened off a cliff, it wasn't really their fault. It was kind of Bandai Namco's fault on the matter. So I don't hold that against them. So now that they got a second chance, they got some money behind this. They got some big backers. They got Sony. They got Disney with Marvel, right? I think this game's going to be a big deal, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking to see more out of it. And that's kind of why I made this video, because a lot of other people, I saw a lot of people posting roster speculation. I figure, hey, why not me too, right? And plus, I'm here with the brave picks like Kingpin and Conan, so there you go. But anyways, yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. But other than that, my friends, that is the end of the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Marvel Tokon whenever that happens later next year. Bye.